Hello, friends. It is Laura Ward here, Laura Victoria Ward, and I am going to do a micro movement session on the floor, laying on my back so that you can see. And as you can see, I'm wearing my fancy unitard. Actually, not. It's a leotard and it's a pair of Lycra leggings that are on the way out. This is maybe the last time they get to be involved in any activity, so enjoy. So what I'm going to do is lay down on my back and just show you what micro movement could look like from a prone position. Not a prone position, a supine position. So I am going to just sort of let my spine free up. And it's almost like, I like to talk about body of water, that we are bodies of water. And I'm just allowing the water in my body to move in different ways. And for me, this has a lot of benefit for my soft tissue. So, and it also kind of lets me sort out any patterning that has come into my being that I can release. Like it allows me to check in on tension patterns and soften some of them just through moving. Movement hydrates tissue, and it also stimulates your lymphatic system. So deep diaphragmatic breathing and movement stimulate the movement of lymph, which is a detoxifier of your body. Although I have to say, so there's a lot of health benefits, but for me, it's also like a huge psychological benefit to just let my body free up and mobilize. So I'm thinking of allowing movement from my head to my tail, not locking anything up. I've got a soft jaw. And I'm kind of imagining that my spinal cord is like a river, or that my whole nervous system is like a river inside my body. It's a river of information. Yep. And I forgot to turn off my phone. Hopefully, it will not keep going off. At any rate, I'm going to keep going. So you can see I'm not contracting and pulling in. I'm kind of letting things stick out, wave, and mobilize. And finding sort of wave-like meandering patterns of movement and trying not to push them in any way. So it's not I'm forcing something to happen. It's more like I'm allowing something to happen. I'm allowing my nervous system and the fluid system in my body, or the fluid systems in my body, of which there are many, and they're all interrelated and interconnected and working harmoniously, I hope. I'm allowing those systems to express in sort of patterning that is not Laura Ward personality patterning, but fluid system patterning that allows me to release tension and take my body into a more sort of meditative state. Also, it could be said a sort of more parasympathetic rest and digest, soothe and settle. And also, I think of it as processing. So it allows my body to process events, things that have happened, um, in a way that lets them move through me, as opposed to getting sort of locked into my system. So in movement analysis, we talk about like holding patterns that our bodies create. And it's like you learn how to hold yourself. Like somebody says, no, don't do that. What happens to your body? Where does the tissue go when you're told not to do something, or when you get in trouble for behaviors, or like our cultural holding patterns of how we're supposed to present as humans in the world? We start to allow ourselves to release that. I found my phone. It is right behind here. I can turn it off. Yay. So all of these ideas, like, why are we the way that we are? Why do we hold whatever we hold? What are we taught to hold in our bodies? And what can we let go of for a sense of more freedom and fluidity in our body, to sort of embrace the watery nature of our tissue and to release things that may be sort of locking us up? Oftentimes the stuff that has locked us up is stuff that served us, like, oh, it allowed us to get from here to there. So we don't want to be like, oh no, I locked up all this stuff. We want to be more like, oh, there's that thing. Maybe I can let go of some of it. And I have to say, most of this for me happens on a very subconscious level. I'm not thinking about a bunch of stuff and working with it. I'm just moving. And it takes the bite out of a lot of stuff, just allowing my body to move. And being in my early 50s now, Like I spent a lot of time in fitness and dance. I still do love it all, but I needed to find something softer in movement, something that's more nourishing and nurturing in movement so that my body's not getting harder and tighter, but there's freedom and fluidity also in my system. So that is what it is. And I'm just like letting these patterns ripple, like however they want to go. You can see undulating patterns, which in our culture, or this sort of white Western culture, is undulation can be very threatening, which is kind of sad and ridiculous, but nonetheless true. Like, oh my God, especially like, what if a guy is undulating? Oh, what does that say about him? So, or a girl, like we have all these weird cultural, social, political, religious impositions on our bodies and on our tissue. So, what if we start to let some of that stuff fall away? How is it delicious to move? And what will be the benefit? Like, can you imagine a board meeting that started with some fluid spinal movement? Like, what would that happen? What would happen to the world if, like, businessmen and women had some fluidity in their spines and some relationship to the water that is our life and also part of this planet? Like, we are all interrelated and interconnected. So just to get into the hippy dippy, it's not even hippy dippy, it's like earth mama pagan nature of fluid movement. Like we're connecting to the elements in our body, connecting to the element of water. You could also think of connecting to the element of breath, letting the breath move in. Yeah, so if I slow down my movement, I have even more opportunity to feel like, oh, what can I let go of, especially up here in my neck, throat, and shoulders. Is there tension in my tongue? Is there tension in my teeth? And for me, like always having this sort of conducting the orchestra with my arms is always really, really helpful. It always sort of brings it in. My little tentacle branch arms can move around and relate with the world in ways that are nourishing and healing, so that I am not, because I do a lot of intense stuff with my arms, but I want to have my tissue be as prepped for intense movement as possible. So it's not completely foreign if I get into sort of weird positions, but the tissue goes, oh yeah, that's familiar. I can access that. I can work with that. So if we think of our fascia as this really three-dimensional uh, mixture of sort of fluids, like snotty fluids, aminoglycans, what are they, glyco something, some crazy name that is like, like a German word, like it goes on and on forever. Glycoaminoglycans or something like that. But it's the snotty stuff, the fluid snotty stuff that's in interrelating with our fascia building. So, and then there's also the more fibrous stuff. And as we move, we sort of, those relationships shift and change. If you look at, it's, oh God, what is his name? Jean-Claude Gimbertau, the French anatomist guy who has a movie called Strolling Under the Skin. And you can see how the fluid is moving along with the fascia. Highly recommend taking that in to start to build new paradigms for what's happening inside, or new images, new visuals, so that we don't think of ourselves as these machine-like bodies, but we are organic, I like to say my animal, vegetable, mineral body. It's all of those things. And I could do this on my side also, right? And as I do this on my side, I'm also massaging out my back. I'm massaging out my fascia. And if I think of my body in relationship to gravity, in relationship to the floor, as opposed to fighting the floor and struggling against it, I'm yielding into it. So you can see the difference between this and that, right? I settle in. So here, fighting it, I've got all my holding patterns, and then release down and melt. And so what I want to do is melt and soften. And when our fascia is warmer, it melts and softens easier, and movement can warm it up as well. So that is our very basic level 1. Well, maybe it's level 2. It's funny how we like to measure things and level things. but it's available at all times to anyone. Like you could be sitting in your chair at a dinner or in the board meeting doing some micro movement, and nobody would even know if you did it really small. But it would be enlivening the inner body, enlivening the tissue. And I want to think almost, it's almost like you're stroking your nervous system, like you're gently rocking, stroking the nervous system, giving the baby nervous system the everything's okay. Look at this. We have this soft, gentle movement, right? It's soothing ourselves, soothing the nervous system, and letting the tissue and fascia hydrate, meander. When I have more space, there's more possibility for my behavior. I could react like this, I could react like that. I don't have to, or I could respond like this as opposed to reacting to things. I have a little more space and a little more time inside where I can go, oh, or I can feel into what's actually going on because I've spent time feeling into what's actually going on, right? So that my body and my mind and my heart and my guts are all in a connected way of working together. Yeah. So there, that's my invitation to get on the floor. And I see that I have two people there now. Hello, hello. I'm going to end my stream, but please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to at some point do a micro movement, longer micro movement with some breath and sounding course, which will probably be once a week on Zoom. So goodbye.